it's going to be very, very juicy and well seasoned. Now, for this one, considering we're talking about Mario, we are going to be making stuffed mushrooms with this application. Now, we're gonna have some washed mushrooms. We're gonna take out the stems, and we're gonna toss them out. No, we are not tossing these out. These things are gold. They're maybe a little bitter, but for this type of application, it's actually going to be a very handy thing because just like we have plenty of power mushrooms in the Mario games, we're also going to be adding some coins. Now this is going to be added with some green work pipes that we're going to be cooking. Now for this one you can use pasta, but what I think would make this a little more interesting is by having some green beans tossed in with all the stems. Now I'm going to be showing you how to make it, but for this we basically have some mushroom flavorings for the next dish, and we have our prepped mushrooms. Now, for the mushrooms, what we want is to cut a little bit off of the bottom. This is mainly because we are going to cook these mushrooms first. Because a common mistake most people have with stuffed mushrooms is that they decide to stuff the mushroom before, cooking the mushroom. And it's going to be very raw. So what I would recommend is cutting just a little bit of the mushroom and heavily season the mushroom. Now for a basic seasoning, we're going to be using the classic olive oil, some salt, pepper, and we're going to add garlic powder mainly because we already have a very intense garlicky flavor for everything else. So I would like to add a little more, just to make it all feel like one combined dish. And you can use an oven. I'm just going to be using here an air fryer, which is technically the same thing. It's just a souped up convention oven. And we are going to bake this for around 350 degrees for around 7 minutes. And you can use less, you can use more, it all really depends on how powerful your oven is. What we're looking for is this, that they're just starting to cook, just starting to loosen some of the juices, but they still can retain their shape. So we have here the mushrooms, we're flipping them over, and this is really going to be the time when you will be able to tell if you did it properly or not. Because if you can't pick these things up, you might want to save these for a saute or for your morning eggs. Because it ain't good, Chief. Now we're going to season the top part of this. Now, the reason I'm seasoning this part is because we're going to be using mozzarella for this one, just to add a little variety and to make this almost like a dippable entree. If you're going to be serving this dry or as is, I could recommend you using Parmesan cheese, but that's going to be a little saltier, so I recommend you do not season the inside. But please, please season for mozzarella. But it needs to be low moisture. Do not use fresh mozzarella because otherwise it's going to be way too much liquid. And hey, look at that. You have yourself a little power mushroom. Okay, where was I? Right. Alright, we're going back to nonsense. Okay. Just make sure you keep in mind anything that you're about to add, just how much salt there is, and ooh, that's. Now, in the same pan, after washing it, because we're going to be clean here, guys, we're going to add a little oil. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of butter. And the reason we're doing this is because I don't want the butter to burn. So we're going to add the oil. So the oil is added to increase the temperature in which the butter will burn. This will preserve it. We have the nice buttery flavor, and it will not turn into charcoal. Neat! Now, after it's been nicely melted, what we're going to be adding is the mushrooms, because mushrooms are one of those vegetables that the more you cook it, the better it tastes. So what we're going to do is pan fry a little bit the mushrooms, and we're going to add a little salt because we are going to sweat them. We want them to release all the juices and everything that you can give into the pan. And hey, we have ourselves a little topper. Nice. Now, yeah, this is the reason why if you're going to be doing decorations, I recommend using the mushroom stem because the stem is nice and thick, which means it's going to be very good for keeping its shape while we're cooking this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and shake this up. Tasty. Now, as soon as they start turning into a nice golden brown, we're going to keep shaking, and we are going to remove this because we don't want these things to burn. We're going to add a little more oil. Now, we're just adding oil to this pan. We did not wash it. It still has plenty of the mushroomy goodness. And we're going to add some string beans. Now, the reason we're using string beans is because these things are pretty long and they kind of remind me of the work pipes from the Mario games. And it's good to at least have some variety, and these things can be very well seasoned. We can add some salt, pepper, the garlic powder that we've been using for this entire recipe, and also a little bit of sesame oil. This is just to give it a nice woody flavor, and a little bit of a touch for, well, the Mario series. Like we have here the green beans for the white parts, and a little bit of woody flavor for when Mario was originally a carpenter in Donkey Kong. We mix it up, make sure it's properly cooked, and the most important tip, guys, you need to taste this while cooking. Green beans do not have much flavor, and you need to make sure it's heavily seasoned in order to have something of decent quality, and also to make sure that you don't add too much of one thing or another. Too much salt, too much garlic, or too much pepper, or even too much sesame oil. It's going to really ruin this dish. Now, after I'd say 7 to 8 minutes, we have ourselves some delicious mushroom caps, which we will put right next to the work pipes, and here we have a food dish ready for the plumber. And this is actually pretty good. It's really filling. It's very easy. Most of this stuff was mostly available at my local market, or you can find this in your local and pretty much anywhere. Nothing special here. And the cool thing about this is you can just combine everything like I did here, or you can just cook each thing individually. Like the meatballs that we cooked in tomato sauce, just add it into pasta and you have yourself some Mario Brothers pasta. So, or something more or less. Like they even serve this in Universal Studios and the Nintendo world. Something else you can also add in order to have yourself a little more variety for the items is you can add some apples for just a little bit of hints for Yoshi or a reference to Yoshi. You can add some fireball candies to a small plate. You can also add some olives or some milk chocolate balls, and you have yourself the bombs. And even just some heated up peaches, which you can serve up with some ice cream. And you have yourself something that could fit the entire Mario crew. And this is perfect for anyone who wants to do a little get-together, or people who want to go and, well, just have a Mario-themed movie night. So yeah, with this one, we have our first recipe down, and hopefully you guys will like it. This is a recipe that I've done several times, and it's pretty hard to mess up. It's pretty easy to make, and most of this you can do days beforehand. Like you can even just make the meatballs themselves, keep them in the freezer, and just reheat them whenever you need them. And as for like the meatballs and sauce, the more days you leave it in the sauce in the fridge, the better it gets. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and here's to our hero Mario. Hope to have many more adventures, and please don't suck in this movie. I need this to be a good movie. The trailers have been pretty good, so I don't know. What's the worst that can happen?